We are so close now to WrestleMania. It is a few days away, but there are a few shows in lead up to that from other promotions that we have got to talk about, starting with Impact and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Hello and welcome to FTTR. I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about Impact and New Japan Pro Wrestling's super show, Multiverse United. Now, before we dive into that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts on the show down in the comments below, and I'll try and apply to every single one of them as we dive into my review. So my overall thoughts about this show. For one, it went by at a brisk pace. It was under 3 hours long. It's about 2 hours 40, and it was really all killer, no filler. However, my criticism with the show is if this was a show on WWE 2K23, it would not get a good rating because, in my opinion, I thought the middle of the show was the best part of the show. I think the opening and the end weren't as strong as some of the matches in the middle, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong in there, but this is my review. I dive into that sort of thing. So shall we go through the rundown of what happened at the show, every match, every angle, everything that happened, starting with Fight. So if you're like me and you're in the UK, I don't know if this was an issue with Fight or an issue on Impact's end. The broadcast was a little bit iffy in places when they tried to cut to backstage segments or backstage promos. We missed some backstage promos, I do believe, here, at least on the feed that I was watching. So it didn't really hit well in that regard. It was more just match, with a few story elements sprinkled in. We got one backstage pre-recorded promo from Chris Bay and Ace Austin, and that was it. So yeah, it was a really, really brisk show in that regard, and yeah, the feed had a little bit of issues. I don't usually point out on that stuff, but when it's glaringly obvious, I've got to bring some attention to it. But we started off with the opening match here in the Globe Theatre in Los Angeles. It was a really cool looking venue, very old school, very nice. But the opening match was a scramble match for the X Division Championship, featuring, as I get my list, because I haven't got my glasses on, Rich Swann versus Kevin Knight versus Frankie Kazarian versus Clark Connors versus Rocky Romero versus Trey Miguel. Now, this wasn't a traditional championship scramble match, a match that I would, off topic, I'd love to see come back. This was just a six-man, whoever gets the first pin wins the X Division Championship. And I thought it was good. I thought it had some really cool and unique spots in here. I think the way everyone worked together, Trey Miguel was thrown out a lot. He didn't have that much to do being the heel in the match. But the other players really worked well together. And there was a sequence at the beginning where everyone had everyone in a headlock. Everyone was doing arm drags, and they all sort of played off each other in that regard, really nice. And then you switched into the bigger spots, the cooler spots. So for one, I really, really loved Clark Connors in this match. If he is not a mainstay of New Japan in the near future, then they are doing something wrong, because that man is incredible. When he went on his spear spree and just nailed everyone, and then hit a spear through the ropes to Trey Miguel onto the apron, you'll have to look that up for yourself, because that just looked incredible. It looked sick, and I really, really liked his part in this match. And I think the other guys weren't necessarily standout. The champion, Trey Miguel, was probably the person who got the least to do in here. It was more the other guys showcasing, like Rocky Romero did his running into the turnbuckle and clotheslining everyone. You had Kazarian hitting multiple springboard leg drops on people. And then it came to a head when Trey Miguel... There was a really cool spot when Clark Connors speared Kevin Knight. So Clark Connors was on the turnbuckle. Kevin Knight went to do a jumping sort of suplex. And when he jumped, Clark Connors hit the spear, knocked him down. Then in came Trey Miguel, who rolled out Connors and stole the victory. Yeah. The issue I had with this match was it was quite short. I feel like this was just getting into its next gear when it ended. And in my opinion, with the next match, I'd have shaved some time off that match and given more time to this one, because this was the more exciting one to me. It was a good match, but this was the match I was most anticipating on the show, and I was a little bit disappointed by it, in my personal opinion. The next match was an 8-man tag. Eddie Edwards, Tom Lawler, JR Kratos and Joe Hendry taking on Sami Callihan, PCO, Fred Rosser and Alex Coughlin. This was fun. Like I've just said, I think this match could have benefited from less time, because it did this felt quite long and didn't necessarily feel like it needed to go quite long. But some of the standout plays in here for me, PCO is just crazy. Some of the stuff he does. He did a huge diving moonsault from the top to the outside. Bear in mind, at the Globe Theatre, there was not a lot of space for him to land, and how he didn't break a leg or something like that doing that is just mental. And they sort of built the match around Kratos and PCO and just doing all these different stare downs, but it was mainly those two, the two monsters, who would go at each other. But the other standout for me was Alex Coughlin. I've never seen anything really of Alex Coughlin. I genuinely didn't really know who he was. But some of the feats of strength that he was pulling off, a double back suplex, I think, on Eddie Edwards, and I think it was Tom Lawler, it could have been Kratos, looked fantastic, and some of the moves he was pulling off was really good. And then a shout out to the commentary, who really put over some of the stories and feuds that were going into this match, like the Rosser, Tom Lawler, New Japan Strong stuff, and the Kratos and Alex Coughlin story. Those two had their issues. It was a fun match, really enjoyed it, some nice spots in there, just a little bit too long for me. So I actually really enjoyed this next match. Moose versus Jeff Cobb was a really good hoss fight. And it wasn't a hoss fight in a Bobby Lashley, a Moss kind of way. This was, okay, we've got a tall guy who is also strong, and we've got a short guy who is really strong. So they put it over really well on commentary that it is strength versus reach. Moose has the advantage in reach, Cobb has the advantage in strength, and they played off that really well in this match. But then the way they worked it, it was like King Kong versus Godzilla, in that they would just club each other with these moves, hit big power spots, and then they'd both go down. It was like two big kaijus fighting in a city, and then they'd eventually drop to the floor, and then they'd do a kip up. They'd do a kip up because they're that athletic. Jeff Cobb did a standing moonsault. You've got such unique big men in this match, and I think they utilised that to perfection with some really innovative spots as well. There was a huge leaping superplex from Moose, which paid off from a superplex that Cobb had done on Moose earlier, so they were both sort of working each other and hitting similar power moves, and it was a really good sort of ending to the match where they were both going for their finishing sequences. Moose went for the spear, had Cobb up, he was going to get him, and then Cobb transitioned it really quickly into a tour of the islands for the win. I was personally expecting Moose to win, but great, Jeff Cobb, he took an L on Dynamite to Kenny Omega, and now he's got a win over Moose, former Impact champion. So yeah, clean as a whistle, really good, and I'm really happy for Jeff Cobb. Hopefully we see more of him in the likes of AEW and big shows sort of going forward. Next up, we got my match of the night. I love this match. I thought it was really solid, and that's why I say the middle part was the stronger, because it featured my favourite match, and that was Miyu Yamashita versus Deonna Purrazzo versus Giselle Shaw versus Masha Slamovich. The winner will be added, I think they said on commentary, to the Impact Knockouts Championship match at Rebellion. This was really good. All of these women worked so well with each other. Miyu Yamashita was doing the kick, she was doing the strong style, she was doing the, really cool Joshi style offense. Deonna Purrazzo was being more technical, hitting more traditional wrestling moves like your arm drags, like your German suplexes. Giselle Shaw was being sort of the cowardly heel who would then hit a huge twirling sort of senton move from the top rope. She looked awesome in this. And Masha Slamovich was just the power, hitting great move after great move, and I think they worked really well together. And you had these unique pairings. You had when Deonna Purrazzo and Masha had to team up with each other against the other two, and they'd had this really awesome bit in the middle where they were just slugging each other on the ropes, and then the other two would come back and do the exact same thing, really playing off each other, that this was an equal match. And some of the spots were great. Masha Slamovich doing her air raid crash into the turnbuckle on Deonna Purrazzo looked awesome. looked really, really cool. And then it was eventually Deonna Purrazzo who picked up the win with the Queen's Gambit on, I believe, Giselle Shaw. I'm pretty sure she hit Giselle Shaw with it after a really cool sequence of like super kick, reversal, straight into the spike pile driver. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I'm happy that Deonna Purrazzo is maintaining hold on the Impact Women's division because she's great. I love Deonna Purrazzo, and I'm excited to see where she goes from here into that match with Mickie James and Jordynne Grace. So yeah, everyone looked great in this, and I want to see more of Yamashita as well. I've not seen a lot of her. I don't think she was on Dynamite, but I could be wrong. Loved it. Next up, we had a four-way tag team match for the Impact Tag Team Championships. We had TMDK versus Aussie Open versus Motor City Machine Guns versus Bullet Club in a really fun four-way encounter. I think everyone looked great in this. In particular, the champs looked great. Bullet Club, this version of Bullet Club, the Impact version, the Ace Austin and Chris Bay, I think are so good together. Their styles mesh so well together. And Ace Austin is just phenomenal in the ring. Absolutely phenomenal. Some of the stuff he pulls off, like the handstand on the apron, flawless. Absolutely flawless. I think for me, what didn't go as hard as I thought it might. Like, I really enjoyed this match, but given the lineup, I thought it might be a little bit more sort of grabbing. I wasn't too grabbed by this match. It was fun spots with the Motor City Machine Guns and TMDK. They were working over each other, and Alex Shelley got the majority of the heat. He was the one being beat up, and yeah, it didn't stick the landing for me for this. And I like the finish. I like the finish of Bullet Club retaining with their sort of combo move that they do. But other than that, I think it didn't grab me. This one didn't grab me particularly. I enjoyed it. Good match, but not the blowaway match that I thought it would be on paper. Then we did get a blowaway match, which was Kushida taking on Lio Rush. Now, this match was changed. It was supposed to be Josh Alexander taking on Kushida, but instead, due to injury, Lio Rush has taken the place. And this was a really good mesh of styles. Really good mesh of styles because Kushida was using his technical prowess to target the arm. Of course he was. He wants the hoverboard lock. And Lio Rush was being a very flippy fun boy. So you had the majority of this match, the majority at the start of this match was Kushida working over the arm of Lio Rush. He did this great bit where Lio Rush went for the handspring off the ropes and Kushida just kicked his arm out from under him. Really good. Really like the way he just targets the arm to get that hoverboard lock, and they put over on commentary, he's not looking to wear down the arm with the hoverboard lock. He's looking for a win. Great way to put over that move. And they just worked really well together, building to Lio Rush's comeback sequence, which, of course, it's Lio Rush. Of course, it's going to be phenomenal. So, yeah, he hit these really, really cool moves, pieces of offense, the bit where he slides on the knees and just a fraction just misses a blow from Kushida. And it was really, really good. And then it came to a head when Rush went to the top rope. He went for a big splash, and Kushida jumped up and caught him in the hoverboard lock, which looked great. Wrenched it back. Lio Rush taps out. Right decision, because Kushida is going into the match at Rebellion with Stephen Macklin. And I think it looked great. Both guys looked great. No one looked bad coming out of this. And I'm very excited to see more of Kushida and more of Lio Rush. They must have. Did they have a match? Did Kushida miss Best of Super Juniors because he was injured? I can't remember. I can't remember if they've had a match that I've seen before. I don't think they have. Not that I've seen. But again, could be very wrong on that. But yeah, really fun match. Really great match. Really like this. Next match was Kenta versus Minoru Suzuki. A match that I was very, very excited for. But for me, I like the story in this, but the match itself didn't differentiate itself enough from other Kenta Suzuki matches that it truly, truly grabbed me, because I wasn't necessarily fully invested in this. I like the story that they told in the promo package, and Cesaro just being Cesaro. Wow, Cesaro, Suzuki just being an absolute badass, and like he is always. I love Suzuki. He's one of my favourites. But yeah, it was a really fun. It was fun, but it didn't blow me away necessarily. It didn't blow me away, this match. and I was expecting to come out really, really loving this. I thought this might be like the sleeper hit of the weekend, but to be honest, I can't really remember that many spots in this match. Suzuki got the upper hand a lot in this, and Kenta was playing definitely the heel, and he won with a sneaky roll-up with feet on the ropes. So probably building to a rematch, probably on New Japan Strong, but he didn't grab me fully this one. But solid enough match, solid enough. And then we had the main event. It was supposed to be Will Ospreay taking on Speedball Mike Bailey. Instead, we have the ace of New Japan Wrestling, Hiroshi Tanahashi, taking on Speedball Mike Bailey. Really good match, this. I really like this. It wasn't God tier level like maybe I was expecting. I think an issue with this show is maybe that I've hyped it up too much in my head and I was expecting more from it. But this match certainly delivered. Didn't over-deliver for me. I think Tanahashi worked really well with Mike Bailey. I think they both gelled really well together. Speedball Mike Bailey is just so quick, so agile, so nimble. He is a wonder to behold. The way he moves, the sort of offense that he does, the really quick kicks, just blow my mind how someone can move that fast and be that agile. But yeah, it all came to a head with a big splash from Tanahashi, and Tanahashi picked up the win. I was actually expecting Speedball Mike Bailey to pick up the win here, but no, Tanahashi came in, Tanahashi beat Mike Bailey, and there was a big show of respect at the end. I enjoyed this. I thought it was a good main event, but like I said right at the beginning, for me, the show peaked in the middle with that women's match, which was my favourite match of the evening. I really, really loved that. And yeah, it sort of just slowly went down a little bit, then peaked up a little bit in the Lio Rush Kushida and peaked up a little bit here. But yeah, I think it was overall, Multiverse United was a solid show. A solid show that maybe I went into with too big expectations, thinking it might be sort of incredible, high caliber stuff. It wasn't. It was more of a showcase than anything. So yeah, maybe that's on me, but I'd recommend you check it out. I'd recommend you check out some of these matches because some of them were really good. Overall, I'd give this a 3 out of 5. And yeah, solid start to the crazy week of wrestling that we are about to get. Really enjoyed this show. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Let me know everything down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of you. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.